Hello, dear students. This video record is to demonstrate how a chain line is added on a technical drawing. Well, thanks to the previously recorded video film, I think you know what is chain line and what is the format for a chain line and why we use a chain line. In the same video record, you can see the answer of the question on phantom lines as well. Yes, chain line is a thick interrupted line. It uses long and short dashes. It is a thick line. Well, to it is long dash, short dash, such a format. It looks like symmetry axis, but it is a thick line. If the thickness of the line is thin, it means it is a symmetry axis, but if the thickness is thick, not 0.2 but 0.5 for instance, it's a thick line. If it is in the thickness of visible outlines, then this means it is a chain line. Chain line is just to mark a certain part of a surface, a certain portion of a surface, to say that for that portion there is a technical requirement to satisfy. For instance, in this example, we have two views. First angle projection. This is the front view. This is the top view. On the top view, there is a chain line. What is the meaning? It is to say that relative to the right side surface of the body. By the way, on the top view, this line corresponds to the projection of the right side surface. That line corresponds to the projection of the front side surface of the object. Well, this indication, where we have a chain line with the associated dimensions, is to say that for the portion of the front side surface, okay, it starts 30 millimeters away from the right side surface of the object, okay, and it extends 110 millimeters, okay. There is a special requirement, technical requirement to consider to satisfy. Well, there is an annotation here. Well, for mentioning the thing, whatever it is, to consider or to satisfy for the indicated part, there is a special annotation. Then use annotation technique. Well, in this example, this annotation to say the characteristic, flatness form characteristic for the surface of the object. For the indicated part of the surface, not entirely, but only for the portion, it is width is 110 millimeters and the portion starts 30 millimeters away. Flatness is to be smaller. This symbol to say surface is to be flat enough, and the flatness zone size 0.08 millimeters. Well, the meaning of such an annotation is deeply subjected in the content of MEC 114. But here my purpose not to educate you on the meaning of flatness symbol or this geometrical tolerance, but just to explain how chain line is added and also to remind you on the meaning of chain lines. Okay. Well, in this example, for the same portion of the surface, there is one more requirement to satisfy, to deal. But for that requirement, there is no special annotation. If there is no special annotation, then mention the requirement in form of a text, in form of a paragraph. For that purpose, chain line is to be repeated, is to be shown in form of a piece of straight horizontal line in the vicinity of the projection, like a footnote, okay, similar to footnote, and the text is to be written. Now here, I want to, in this video record, demonstrate what is the thing to do for having such an indication. I don't want to recreate this annotation, so I'm going to take the leader line away, break the connection between chain line and this one. Otherwise, when I delete the chain line, this annotation, since it is connected to the chain line, will also be deleted. Okay, then to be able to demonstrate how a chain line is created in Inventor, delete the already created one. I selected with a click and push delete button, and also this footnote marker, delete it and recreate. In Inventor, to be able to add the chain lines, that is the thing to do. If the chain line is to be shown on a view, okay, at a certain distance and in a certain length, well, this is important. First, indicate the view. It is a trick. Bring the cursor to the vicinity of the view. After seeing the dotted rectangle around it, make a click. And then click on Start Sketch button. Along the annotation ribbon, you can find this button. After the click, you find the projection, all the things on the page in sketch mode. To be able to locate the chain line at a certain distance away and in a certain length, well, this is a must. Apply projection process, project geometry process. Clicked on this, and then using windowing method, have the projection of the projection on which we are going to show the necessary chain line. To be able to select all the things on the view, use windowing method. Well, in applying windowing method in AutoCAD, bring the cursor to the corner of the region where you have something to select. Click the mouse and release the button of the mouse and move the cursor. But in Inventor and also in any other software, in applying windowing method, click the mouse, left button of the mouse, well, after positioning the cursor to the top corner, and then while holding the left button of the mouse as pressed, move the cursor. Window will appear. Just use drag technique. And then take the projection into window and release the button. This means you created the projection of the view. And thanks to making such a projection, creating the projection, can locate the points at a certain distance, can input the necessary dimensional constraints. First, create the line, start line drawing process, and then, well, in the vicinity of the view, well, the chain line is to be close enough, a few millimeters away from the surface or to the surface, or say that, in other words, few millimeters away from the surface. A part of the surface is to be highlighted with a chain line, for which there is a special requirement. Clicked first arbitrarily, and then be able to create a parallel line, okay, with respect to the projection. Now, if your ability is not so good in creating the parallel line, well, pay attention. If the line is parallel, then either in the vicinity of the line you see parallelism symbol, or if it is horizontal, in this case it is parallel to the projection of the surface. Since it is horizontal oriented, well, you see here right now in the vicinity of the cursor I have parallelism symbol, or it may be horizontality symbol, okay. Or well, you may create the line arbitrarily as inclined. Click, press escape button and then make it parallel. Clicked on parallelism constraining button. In constraint panel, clicked on this button to, it is the tool, it is the facility, it is the constraining facility to make the indicated lines parallel. Indicate this projected boundary of the surface, indicate that drafted one, and then have them parallel. How many millimeters away? From clicked on constraining button, from the projection of the surface, a certain portion of the surface is to be highlighted using a chain line. To the chain line, distance should be in the order of few millimeters. For instance, maybe 3 millimeters. Okay? And the other constraint relative to this boundary in our example, from here click to the terminal point click. Dimensional constraint in this example is 30 millimeters. Write 30, press enter. And indicate the line at a point and then move the cursor away. It is to input the length for the chain line. In this example, for the portion of the surface, its width is 120. We have a technical requirement to satisfy. We have a requirement to satisfy 120 right into this sizing box, and then either clicking on this button or simply pressing enter, input it. Now, the line is 30 millimeters away. The starting point of the line is 30 millimeters away from this reference, and it is few millimeters away from the projection of the surface. It is the surface to highlight, okay, to say that for the portion of the surface, its size is 120. There is a requirement to satisfy. Okay. Well, don't worry about the line type. It is not in chain line quality yet. Whenever you draw something in sketch mode in Inventor, it is going to be a thin continuous line. It comes from the default configuration of the software. Clicked on Finish Sketch button, and then yes, indicate the line thereafter, which you created in sketch mode. It is to be converted to chain line, to its appearance. Right click the mouse and from the list select properties option. It is to bring the property dialog box. In the dialog box, yes, can change the type of the line. Drop this listing arrow, clicked on this listing arrow, drop the list, and from the list select the correct line type, chain. That line is to be a chain line. And from the thickness list, select 0.5 because chain lines in 0.5 thickness group is to be in 0.5 millimeters as their thickness. Clicked on OK. That is it. Now it is a chain line. Okay. And then show the necessary dimensions. For showing the dimensions, select Annotation tab and clicked on Dimension Indication button. I started the process. I know that the starting point of the chain line, it corresponds to the starting boundary of the portion of the surface, 30 millimeters away. Indicate this as a reference, indicate the terminal point, and then move the cursor. Since in sketch mode I located the terminal point 30 millimeters away, of course when I show the dimension it is going to be the same. And then clicked on OK. Indicate the chain line and then move the cursor. It is size is 120. It corresponds to the width of the portion of the surface for which we have a technical requirement. And then, well, after having the chain line, well, hold the press escape button, finish the execution first, dimensioning process, and then hold the terminal point of the leader line and then bring it into contact with the chain line. It is to say that for the portion of the indicated portion of the surface, there is a flatness tolerance. Well, for the same portion in the example, we have one more requirement to satisfy, but for such a requirement, there is no standard annotation. So that's why we wrote such a text. But it is necessary to highlight that this text is about the requirement. It is to satisfy for the indicated portion of the surface. To say that for the indicated one, well, one more chain line is needed. Well, in sketch mode, if you forgot to add the other line in sketch mode, clicked on start sketch button one more time and then make an arbitrary click on the page. Okay, no need to apply projection process because no need to show any dimension or input any dimensional constraint. It is just a footnote marker. Clicked on line creation button and then in the vicinity of the text, if you already write the text of cons, or otherwise first create the line and then write the text. Since the text has been written already, then that's why I say in the vicinity of the text have such a horizontal oriented straight piece of line. Press escape button. Its length is not so important. Well, should be a piece of line. And then, well, change the line type, left click, right click, and from the option list, select property option. And then, you know the rest. Drop this list and from the list select the chain option as the line type. From this list, select the thickness. 0.5 is the correct thickness. That is it. Yes, I think it is clear enough. In Inventor, that is the thing to do for indicating a certain portion of a surface to say something. How? Via using chain lines. Okay, in AutoCAD. Let me answer the question in AutoCAD and then finish the video record. Well, I'm going to use this example. Assume that this is the view of something, and well, in the example, say that this is the front side view. Okay. If you want, you may imagine a very complex figure within this box. But here, my purpose is not to educate you how the views are created, but just to answer the question or demonstrate how a chain line can be added in AutoCAD. Okay, well, say that this vertical line is the front view of the right side surface of the object, and this line is the front side view of the bottom side surface of the object. In this example, say that a certain portion of the bottom side surface, there is a requirement to satisfy. The requirement is not to satisfy for the entire of the surface. Only for a certain portion of the surface we have a requirement to satisfy. So need to use chain line. In AutoCAD, at present, in the structure of the template, yes, these are the existing layers. In the list, there is no layer for the chain lines yet. First, I'm going to create a chain line layer, since it has not been created already. Clicked on Managing button, the button to bring the Layer Manager dialog box. Okay, and in the Managing dialog, clicked on New Layer Creation button and then add a new layer. I'm going to use this layer for creating and keeping the chain lines. So in this regard, a meaningful phrase as the name of this layer is maybe chain line. Chain lines. Okay. I'm going to, yes, chain lines. I'm going to select which color. Clicked on color box. I decided to have the chain lines in eggplant color. Not eggplant, but dark violet. Okay, I selected that color for the chain lines. Line type certainly is not continuous. Clicked on this word and then clicked on the listing arrow and select chain option. No. In the list, there is no chain option, but we know that, well, center lines and chain lines, both of them use long and short dashes along their line of actions. The only difference between center line and chain line to their appearance is the thickness value. Select center line option, but to say that it is not the center line but the chain line, as the thickness, clicked on this arrow, select 0.5 millimeters. Okay, for axis, thickness is 0.2, but for chain lines, 0.5. Although I selected center line option from the list, well, you see, inputting the thickness as that of a chain line, yes, guaranteed to have a chain line when I created a line in the layer. Clicked on apply, clicked on OK. And then, to be able to have the chain line in the correct length and as started from the correct point, yes, first mark the starting point. How? Following video records, I'm going to deeply talk about the advantage of using transfer lines. Okay? Especially in multi-view projection, I recommend mark the points. What the images of the characteristic points say in the structure of the object using transfer lines. I'm going to mark the starting point of the chain line, well, similar to this one, okay, using transfer line technique. See how. Clicked on this listing arrow and then select parallel with full distance option. Well, this is the tool of the software to create transfer lines as parallel to a certain reference. Clicked on this, start the process. As the reference for the transfer line, it is to be a certain millimeters away. In this example, this line, which corresponds to the view of the right side surface, is the reference. With a click indicate, and then into the box along the train, it will be highlighted. Write the distance from that reference to the starting point of the chain line. In our example, say that it is 30. Press enter, and then I know that the point to mark is relative to this reference, not at the right side but left side, so move the cursor in the left direction and then click the mouse. Yes, that is it. The created one is a transfer line. I know that starting point is along this line. Well, the other coordinate for the starting point is with respect to the view of the bottom side surface. Indicate the surface and then into the box, write 3. Chain lines are to be located few millimeters away from the projection of the surface, corresponding surface. In this example, into the box, I wrote 3 millimeters. Press enter and then move the cursor in the down direction in this example. Press escape button. Yes, creating this and that. Well, I precisely located the starting point of the chain line. It also corresponds to the starting boundary of the portion of the surface. In this example, it is the bottom side surface for which we have a technical note. Okay, and then, select chain line layer, drop the list of the layers and clicked on chain line option. Started the selected the page and then start the line drawing process. Clicked on piece of line creation button. Since the surface is a flat surface, chain line is to be a straight line. So that's why I clicked on straight line creation button. If it were a circle arc, then I would click on circle button. Okay, depending on the case. And then using snap facility, clicked on snap enabling button and then check whether for intersections there is an enabling. If not, then with a click next to this word, it is the name of the characteristic points, intersection points, enable the software. Okay. for indicating intersections. Well, the starting point for the chain line is an intersection point. It is the point located marked by the intersecting transfer lines. Just indicate it using snap facility and then move the cursor away. Well, I know that chain line is to be created as extended to the left as parallel to the boundary. To be able to make it parallel, yes, and fix its length. In this example, its length is 120. Click on Tab key. Take a right into to right inclination angle into the angle box. Well, from the arc simulation, I see that AutoCAD is ready to measure the angle in the clockwise direction as equal to 180. Okay, write 180 degrees into the box and press enter key. That is it. Press escape button thereafter. And then, well, in the vicinity of the projection, in this example, since for the technical note there is no special annotation, well, the chain line is to be repeated in form of a piece of straight line in the vicinity of the projection. For that purpose, I selected this part and then created piece of line. And then, having a look at the created chain lines, I see that the order of the dashes in length is not so good. Well, along the line of action, having only one or two dashes is a poor practice. To be able to draw the attention of the reader that it is such an interrupted line, well, have more dashes. How can change the length of the dashes without changing the length of the other dash lines? Use property technique. Indicate this line with a click, indicate the other with a click. For both of them, I'm going to change the length order, length of the dashes. And then, while still keeping the blue boxes along the lines, be able to right click. Well, I right click, but I lost the gripping points. So repeat again. Click, clicked, and carefully keeping the blue boxes in the simulation along the line, right click the mouse and from the list select properties option. This is the procedure to invoke the property table for the selected entities. And here in the table, well, bring the cursor into this box. It is to change the length scale for the dashes. Existing scale factor is 1. I'm going to decrease the length of the dashes via writing a smaller number, 0. maybe 4. Try. Press enter. Okay, close this table and pressing escape button, have a look at. You see along the line, since I have more dashes, it is a good practice, can much more easily draw the attention of the reader that it is a chain line. Okay. And then the rest. We do not need to keep the transfer lines in the screen. I use the transfer lines for marking precisely, for marking the starting point of the chain line, but thereafter no need to keep them. Okay, after using and finishing the things on transfer lines, good practice is that take their visibilities away from the screen. Drop the list of the layers and then bring the cursor onto the lamp symbol of that layer and turn it on. Yes, this is the filtering technique. And then, well, show the dimensions. Annotation. Clicked on dimension indication button. Later, deeply study on dimensioning format and the associated things in CAD environment. But here, complete my demo. Using snap facility, indicate this point as the reference. Indicate the starting point of the chain line. And then move the cursor away. And then click. Yes, 30 millimeters. Press enter. And then continue. Indicate the starting point of the chain line, indicate the ending point of the chain line using snap facility, and then move the cursor away, and then make the other click. It is to indicate the other dimension, and then finish the dimensioning stage pressing escape button. Yes, it is to say that for the portion of the surface, okay, it is 30 millimeters away from this boundary, along 120 millimeters as the width of the surface. Apply the process to satisfy the requirement. What is the requirement? Write the requirement in technical format. How? In AutoCAD, using text facility, along the home ribbon, find text facility, drop the list and select multi-line text. Before doing this, first drop the list of the names of the layers, and from the list select text layer. Okay, already decided to keep technical notes in one of the layers. I selected second text layer and then start the text typing process. Clicked on this listing arrow and select multi-line text option. Since the text is a paragraph, multi-rows we have in the text. So I selected multi-line text option, and then bring the cursor to the beginning of the paragraph. Well, to be able to prevent software from snapping cursor, click on disable the snap enabling button, and then bring the cursor to the vicinity of the chain line, and then with a click indicate the starting point, and then move the cursor in the diagonal direction to the right. It is to say that text is to extend from left to right. And then after making the second click, then find at the top along the ribbon a new ribbon, text editor ribbon. Well, in this dialog, select from the list, if it exists, the recommended font height. If the font height is not in the list, then you can type it. Okay, into this box, write 5 for instance, press enter. It is just the font height, and then font name. Later, actually, I'm going to, in a little bit more detail, talk about lettering format and the text facilities of both of the software. But here, this is just briefly to complete my exercise. Okay, I clicked on this listing arrow, and from the list, should select Arial as the font name. Scroll. It's a very long list, and select Arial option. And then the rest, write the text, yeah. Okay, in this example, it is to say that surface is to be hardened. The portion of the surface which has been indicated by the chain line is to be furtherly hardened. Surface hardened. In writing the technical notes, we use past participle tense. Surface hardened. Press enter. Well, the hardness value in Rockwell scale, RC means Rockwell scale, is equal to 50. Press enter, and the thickness of the layer, it starts from the surface of the object and extends to deeper point, is 1 millimeter. So T, lowercase t, to say thickness is equal to 1 millimeter in this example. And then after finishing the text typing, clicked on close text editor button. That is it. Yes, I think it is okay now. How a portion of a surface can be indicated using chain line, and how a text is written, how a chain line is created. I managed to answer such questions, I think, in AutoCAD and also in Inventor environment. Okay, dear students, thank you for your watching. See you later. Bye bye.